Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you are in the world listening to this. Welcome to another Solution Sunday where I can't get my Facebook. There we go. All right. Always get that little feedback as it goes live on Facebook in my Soul Sourced Healing Facebook group. So good morning, everyone. I'm Lisa Warner. I am the author of The Simplicity of Self-Healing and the creator of Solution Sunday, where the soul is the solution. And today I have my good friend, Melissa Deely, with me, who was a big winner the other night in the Business from the Heart well, it wasn't really a competition, but she won the Quality Care Award for her beautiful, caring heart and her beautiful business. So, Melissa, welcome. Please introduce yourself. Let everybody know what it is that you do.
Thank you so very much. I'm thrilled to be here and spend this time with you, Lisa. So thank you for the invitation. And what is it that I do? I help people truly heal. I help people get to the root cause of whatever health issue is going on for them. So often today, people will go to the doctor and they'll run blood work, and that blood work doesn't actually show root cause. And they will often hear, "We don't know what's wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. It's all in your head." And that's frustrating for people. It's actually really hard to hear. And I really struggle with the fact that people are told it's all in your head, there's nothing wrong with you, etc., because we have to listen to our bodies. And people going to the doctor saying something's wrong with them are listening to their bodies. And being told there's nothing wrong with you is directing you away from listening to your body. And I get people to continue listening to their body. And through the power of functional medicine lab tests, we can actually truly figure out where the imbalances are in the body. Is it in the gut? Is it a hormonal imbalance? Is it a mineral or vitamin imbalance or deficiency? Is it an inflammation imbalance, right? So what is going on inside that body? And once we know that, then we know how to help people truly heal. And obviously, that's what people want. It's what I want for people. A lifetime of chronic illness is no fun. And the reality is that your dis-ease label that you may get given at the doctor, because that happens too, doesn't have to be a life sentence or even a death sentence, because the body is designed to heal. We just have to know how to create the environment for it to be able to do so. And I know we're going to dig into that today, because that is where I start all of my clients, and that is with doing a detox so we can create that healing environment. So yeah, that's what I do, and I absolutely love this work.
Beautiful. I love that, Melissa. I did your functional medicine detox at the beginning of this year, 2021, and I had never done, like I've done, just some little self detox, not professionally guided or anything, just kind of, doing some, juice cleanse or fasting or whatever, with the intention of detoxing. But this was a functional medicine detox, and it was 3 weeks that we did, like basically for the whole month of January. And it was phenomenal. It was really amazing. I really loved all of your guidance. You really showed us how our bodies function. I learned a lot about my physicality, and you gave some amazing recipes. I still cook those recipes now. Oh my God, they're just amazing.
So do I. I eat them all the time. I love them. I love them. And yeah, it was great having you in the program. And I love hearing that you're still using those recipes, because what that also tells me is that some of the, new habits that you created with new learning, you are still practicing today. And that's what I want for people, right? Is we don't know what we don't know. a lot of this has never been taught. And we're all in any given moment going about our life trying to do the best we can, earn an income, raise our family, live our purpose, etc. And that doesn't necessarily allow for the time to also learn how our body works and the best way to eat for our body, etc. Or, how to be turning on digestion and why that's so important. And are we even eating when digestion is turned on, right? Or where sneaky sugars are getting into our diet. All of these things, we just don't have the time. And unfortunately, it isn't taught through our education system. It's not taught through our public health system. And as you know, I was in the corporate world for 24 years. And when my life guided me into health and wellness, and I went back to school and started learning all of this, I had this aha of people need to know this. People need easy access to this information. And, if only I'd known, right? I didn't know this in the corporate world, but once I learned it, I was able to recognize the habits that were negatively impacting my health and change them. And it wasn't hard to do that. It's all about getting 1% better every day. But some of them were so easy to change. It was just simply, okay, now I know that's not helping me. So I'm not going to do that anymore. And I'm going to do this instead. The problem is because that education isn't there. A lot of people are still over here doing things that aren't helping them, and they just don't know that. Right. So that's my mission, is to share this information and give people, easy, actionable steps that they can take away and implement into their daily lives. Because at the end of the day, nobody wants to die longer and live shorter. We all want to live longer and die shorter. And that's all about talking about, longevity, right? And living a long, joyful life. And that's what I want to help people achieve. And it's my goal for myself. My grandmother lived to being 101, lived at home by herself right to the end. And that's the path I've signed up for. And so I walk my talk because it's important to me to be able to do that and then show all of my clients the way.
Beautiful. I love that. When I was a really, really little girl, and I would lay in my bed at night, and I would just be aware of the people in nursing homes that were stuck in these bodies that no longer functioned. They couldn't take care of themselves. They were just basically waiting to die. And I knew deep down inside that there was something terribly, terribly amiss with that it was clear to me that that's not how it was supposed to be on this planet. Yeah. But yet it's how it is. And so I thought, well, there must be something seriously wrong with me, because obviously, that doesn't work around here. But little did I know that awareness is something that I was bringing with me, that my soul was bringing into this planet. And although it may appear kind of, odd right now to the majority of people, it's clear to me, and it's becoming clear to people, like the Greg Bradens and the Bruce Liptons and, the people who have been outspoken and really talking about this, that our bodies are designed to last for hundreds of years. It's not that we're supposed to live 80, 90, maybe 100 years. It's like we can actually live far longer, far better, with far more joy and enthusiasm and vitality. But we can't do that when we don't believe that we can, when we don't know that we can. There's that education piece. We're not told any of this stuff. In fact, we're told that, if you live to 90 years old and you can still get around, that you're doing great. So we just simply follow the program. We follow the planning.
Exactly.
So even though it's really frustrating when doctors say, oh, it's all in your head. Well, there is really a portion of that is true, because our physicality follows our thought processes, our beliefs. We are embodying our beliefs. So when we detox, we're not only detoxing our physical bodies, we're detoxing our mental bodies, our emotional bodies, our energy fields. You know, there's so much. And the more we become aware of what we are actually able to detox, and we do that really consciously, we can detox a lot in a really short period of time and like up level our vibration and step into a new level of consciousness, which is pretty amazing.
I agree with all of that. And I do agree about the beliefs as well. And so my frustration with the doctors when they're saying it's all in your head is they're basically they're not having the rest of that conversation, right? Exactly. Of what you can do about it. They're sending you away to do nothing.
Yes.
Because it's all in your head is their attitude, or they're sending people to, psychiatrists.
Exactly.
At that point, saying you have a mental health issue and now you need a drug to help support that, right? But yes, if there were doctors that would have that next level conversation, then that would be really powerful for people. And I fully agree about, the body being able to heal, the body being able to live a lot longer, the body knowing how to do this. And the problem is that is us. It's what we're putting in that body, right? Not just from the food, but from the chemicals. And then what we're holding in that body in terms of repressed emotions, etc. The, conversations we have with ourselves in our heads that go round and round on that loop, that is that negative conversation of beating ourselves up versus that empowering conversation of allowing ourselves to move forward. And you're absolutely right that we can detox from all of that. And it doesn't take long. And so I love starting my clients off this way, because in 3 weeks, they have profound results of, more energy, feeling better, getting rid of daytime naps. I'm shocked at how many adults have daytime naps, better mental clarity and losing the brain fog, and less joint pain, less inflammation, all of that in 3 weeks. And how long have they been suffering, struggling, right? And so it's just a really great way to show people that when we create that environment to heal, the body responds so quickly and it starts healing. And so even there, this belief comes in, right? Because people that have been struggling for a while, looking for answers, feeling frustrated, by the time they come to me, they still have that little bit of hope, but they've lost a lot of their belief because it hasn't worked all those times before. And so they have to buy into the belief that I have for them, that this program will work and we can create that environment for them to heal. And so I hold that container for them. But inside 3 weeks, they get to build their own belief. And they get to understand that, oh my goodness, I'm finally on the right path. And then once we've done that detox, then we can go on to do more work and run the labs and see, what the imbalances are and help bring their body back into balance. And it's that initial shift in belief that is needed, because if you don't believe you can heal, you're not going to heal.
Exactly. Whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you are correct.
That is my favorite quote.
It's one of my top ones.
It is so true, right? And again, It comes back to the stories that we tell ourselves in our head, or, and understanding how our subconscious and our conscious minds work. And yeah.
Exactly. So, it all weaves together. We have become so compartmentalized that we, everything in this third dimensional reality is based on separation of body, mind, and soul as 3 separate things, and separation of physical and non-physical. And basically we just kind of ignore the whole non-physical thing because we're taught that, that's just in your head. Oh, that doesn't mean anything. That angel's not there. You're not seeing fairies. You're not, that's just some crazy belief. It's not real. Yeah. And we're just simply taught to dismiss our imaginations, although that's our tool for seeing and working with the non-physical realms. You know, we are talked out of that. So, and we're talked out of the soul as being, we don't have a soul, we are the soul. And that soul is the non-physical part of us. The mind is also the non-physical part of us.
Exactly.
And the mind and the soul are what are running the body. The body is simply the condensed, the most dense part of our consciousness. And the body, without the mind and the soul, the body doesn't function anymore. We call that death.
Yes, exactly.
But look, if we simply realize that the mind and the soul, if they're not on the same page, if they're separated and the mind's going in one direction and the soul is going in a different direction, we have dis-ease. Whether it's physical disease, financial dis-ease, emotional, relationship, job, whatever it is.
Spiritual disease,
exactly. It's like that separation between the mind and the soul is the root cause of every single problem, no matter what the problem is.
Exactly.
So, you know, but the doctors aren't taught that. This is why they can't go that next level of conversation, because we're not taught to look at the mind and the soul.
Exactly. And that's that whole educational piece. And even to that separation, you're talking about the separation of, you know, the body and the mind. And even further in our mainstream medicine, we're separating out the organs. We're not even looking at how interconnected we are. We're looking at heart disease or kidney disease or liver disease, or just one piece of it. And when, you know, as an integrative health practitioner, we look at all of you. And the other piece that I hadn't mentioned is with that word integrative is we're also bringing in different forms of medicine. So my mentor at age 17 was basically given a life sentence by mainstream medicine. He had multiple autoimmune diseases, and they just basically said, well, here's some drugs. You're going to need to take them for the rest of your life. And this is as good as it's going to get. And this is a 17-year-old that can't get out of bed because his, you know, adrenals are shot, right? And he wouldn't take on that label. And he said, no, you know, he did say he had a pity party for a while, but then he got through the pity party and decided, no, this can't be my life. And he spent the next 10 years healing himself. And in that process, he studied Ayurvedic medicine in both India and Sri Lanka. He studied Chinese traditional medicine in China. He studied orthomolecular medicine, the medicine of vitamin therapy, which was used until about 50 years ago when Big Pharma came in and poo-pooed it all, right? And he studied bioregulatory medicine, naturopathy. He is now a doctor of naturopathy. And in searching for the best medicine in order to cure himself, his aha was, there is no best medicine, but I can take pieces of each of them in order to offer a more well-rounded, you know, healing protocol for different people, right? And so that's what I work with today. And when I'm working with someone, I am asking them about their relationships and their spirituality and digging into their stress levels and their exercise and their nutrition and their sleep in order to help them heal fully. And, you know, my intakes are an hour. Well, a doctor can't do all of that in 7 minutes. Their hands are tied behind their backs because of a broken system, a system that is driven by money, right? Big Pharma optimizes shareholder profit over human health.
Absolutely, it does.
And they're very powerful. You know, they own the medical schools. Therefore, they get to dictate what is taught to doctors in their curriculum. And doctors are getting many, many hours of learning about, you know, these symptoms fit in this box, and then you give this drug. And they're not learning about how interconnected the body is and how the food that we put in truly matters.
Exactly.
And so they're not able to help people truly heal in many cases. And acute medicine, we are very, very good at. Life-saving medicine, we are very, very good at. But look around the world today, and where are we stuck? We're stuck with high stress that is leading to disease, that is causing chronic illness. And people just like my mentor, Dr. Cabral, are being told, you get to have this for the rest of your life, and here's the drug that you're going to take. But our bodies, when they talk to us, are giving us symptoms and asking us to do something different. So if we just mask that symptom with a drug to make it go away, the body still needs to have us do something different. And so now it's going to say, well, that didn't work, so I'm going to give you something else, another symptom to make you wake up and do something different. And very often people go back to the doctor and then they simply get another drug.
Exactly.
So there are people out there on, 10 different pharmaceutical drugs at one time.
Yeah.
And I heard a saying recently, which I've taken on because I absolutely love it. And it's that the body will whisper to us initially, nice and gently, like a feather. And if we don't listen, it's going to thump us with a brick. And if we still don't listen, it's going to whack us with a wrecking ball. And how many people have actually experienced that? It's so true. So it's my goal is to get people when the feather is just whispering at them, or at least the thump of the brick, because I don't want anybody to have to get whacked by a wrecking ball.
Exactly. It's not fun, believe me. I went that route.
So many people have, right? Because it's what we're taught. And I know it's what I was taught as well, that, you get sick, you go to the doctor, they make you better. But in that state, we're giving up our power to somebody else, and we're no longer listening to our body, really. Whereas when we can find a doctor or a practitioner to work with that works in conjunction with what we are hearing from our body, that's when we can create that place of healing. And I have to say, I was fortunate, as in my late teens, early 20s during university, I did work with a homeopathic doctor. So that was, and my mom, that was just because my mom chose that doctor. We'd moved, and then in a new neighborhood, that was our doctor, right? And so that was kind of my first foray into holistic medicine. And then when my children were much younger, and even before I had children, actually, my first work with a naturopathic doctor came because I just needed to know why. Why were my migraines suddenly worse? I'd always had migraines since the age of 18. They were cyclical. So the onset of my cycle, I was going to get a migraine, right? And I hadn't had children yet, and I was working full time, and I got migraines 5 days in a row at the office. And when I have a migraine, it's hard to function. It's hard to think clearly. It's hard to get my work done. I just want to, stick an ice pack on my head and lie down in a dark room and quiet and all of that. And I went to the doctor, and I'm asking why. And she can't give me a why. All she could give me was more drugs and told me to take a week off work. And I took a week off work. I didn't take the drugs. I went back to work, and I still got the migraines. And I'm like, no. She told me that there can be cyclical, and that would break the cycle. She's right. They can be cyclical. I was getting them with every cycle, but the 5 days in a row wasn't. There was some other trigger, and I needed to know why. And I ended up going to a naturopath because I just thought somebody has to be able to help me figure this out. And that was the first that I heard that I could actually run a saliva test to figure out exactly where my hormones were at any given day in the month. And so I did that, and it turned out that my progesterone levels were really, really low. And then she gave me this absolutely disgusting tonic that I had to take a teaspoon of every day for the first 2 weeks of 2 cycles. And after doing that, the first cycle, my migraines all but disappeared. And by the second cycle, I wasn't getting migraines anymore. And that lasted for about 7 years. And of course, our hormones are always changing, right? So after 7 years, I started getting the migraines back. So I just went straight back into her office. I said, give me more of that disgusting stuff. And she wanted to do my full intake again. I'm like, no, just give me some more of that disgusting stuff. If it doesn't work, I'll come back. But it worked like a charm last time. And I'm feeling like it's what I need right now. So she gave it to me, worked another 7 years.
Beautiful.
And then my migraines changed again. And I went back, and this time I said, they're different. So let me do that lab again because something else is going on. And that was the onset of perimenopause. And now all my hormones had got up and left, and I needed to add everything back in. But just the power of being able to run these labs and to truly understand what is going on, and then being able to do something about it. I could have taken a drug at higher and higher doses forever and ever more, which is all my mainstream medicine doctor could offer. Or I could understand what was really going on inside my body and take corrective action to bring it back into balance and not need those drugs. And it's, I love my doctor. It's just a shame that her hands are tied and that's all she has to offer. But I'm so grateful for the fact that there are so many other modalities of healing available to us now.
It's beautiful, isn't it? We are multidimensional beings. So living a multidimensional life means that we have to be aware of how things fit together, how the body, the mind, and the soul, 3 different dimensions, work together. So our bodies are always following the other 2 parts. So we have to start to realize that there are so many, when we change one thing, when we change our consciousness, that changes our body. When we change our bodies, it changes our thinking. There's all the parts are connected.
Yes, 100%. I totally agree. You can't separate it out.
Exactly. When it comes to detoxing, what is it that we're detoxing? Well, we're getting rid of toxins, and toxins come in multidimensional forms.
Absolutely.
So we've got physical toxins, the chemicals that are being sprayed on our foods, all kinds of toxic things physically in our environment.
Well, let's just talk about that for a minute because there's so many, right? I have been saying up to 100,000 man-made chemicals have been introduced since World War II. But recently, like within the last couple of months, the WHO came out with saying now it's at 144,000 since World War II. And so, yes, it's the chemicals being sprayed on our food, but it's also the chemicals in our food in terms of the processed foods that are being added by the food manufacturers in order to add shelf life and, GMO sugars, other GMO ingredients to keep the cost down. But it's also lotions and personal care products that we're putting on our skin, which get into our bloodstream in 26 seconds. 26 seconds straight to the bloodstream, no opportunity for the liver to even try and filter that and keep it out of the blood like it does for food that we put in our mouth. But it's in our air, it's in our waterways. These, walking down the street, we're getting the fumes from exhaust pipes of cars, right? That's toxic to us and that's getting on our skin, etc. And so it all sounds very doom and gloom, but it isn't. The reality is we're at a place where we can't avoid these now. So limit them where you can. You can choose better personal care products. You can choose to buy a new bed that isn't covered in flame retardant, right? And toxic, so that you're not sleeping on that 8 hours a night. You can choose, if you're renovating your home, to put down non-toxic floorboards or make sure the fabric in your curtains, etc., that you're putting up in the house or your blinds, etc., isn't toxic. But you can also choose to release the toxins from your body. And in doing so, that's also not something that you do just once and then you're good. It's something that you're going to do on an ongoing basis because those toxins are always getting in. And so you just need to always help get them out. And that's what I do. And my body loves it. And I love knowing that I'm getting the toxins out, so I'm not stressing about what's coming in, right? It's there. I minimize as much as I can, but I can't avoid them all, but I'm not going to stress about it. I'm just going to do my quarterly detox to help get those toxins back out. And that is so important in today's world, because what we're seeing is that our liver, which is charged with keeping our body pure and clean, it cleanses our blood every 6 minutes. It's trying its best to keep those toxins out of our bloodstream. But our liver is getting bogged down. And it's getting bogged down by this burden of, these high amount of toxins that are getting inside that the human body was never designed to deal with. And it's not just those chemical toxins, as you were about to allude to. It's toxins from repressed emotions. It's toxins from stress. It's toxins from poor sleep, right? And on top of all of that, and, the emotional toxins that are there, the physical toxins that are there, the toxic relationships that are in our lives that are causing problems, there's all of that the liver is actually having to cope with. And on top of that, we now have a depleted soil systems. So we're not getting the nutrients needed for phase 2 of liver detoxification, which is the phase that allows the liver to actually convert the toxins to being water soluble so they can leave the body through our urine, our bowel movements, and our sweat. So I like to say that our liver is undernourished and overburdened. And as a result, it's really struggling to do its job. And when it can't do its job, it's desperately trying to keep those toxins out of our blood. It will store them in our adipose tissue or fat cells, fat closets. So when we are overweight, our fat storage is actually highly toxic, because that's what the liver is trying to do. It's always trying to do the right thing. The body knows, right? And our poor livers are getting bogged down. And when they get bogged down, it's impacting our digestive system. It's creating inflammation in the body. And when we have inflammation in the body, we know that can then trigger cells to turn on that disease state. Because with epigenetics, it's not just the genes, it's the environment that you create inside the body that triggers disease. And the environment that you create is 90 to 95% of that equation, which is huge. And that might sound really scary, but I actually think it's really empowering. It's all how you look at things, right? And it's empowering because it puts you in the driver's seat. You get to have control. You don't have control of the genes you were born with, but you do have control over the environment you create inside your body and how you support your liver. And when you choose to create an environment that is inhospitable to disease, guess what? You get to live that long, joyful life. And again, it comes down to education and just knowing that we can do this and then learning how to do it. And I know you mentioned earlier you had done other detoxes previously, perhaps, juice cleanses and maybe store-bought detoxes. And compared to a functional medicine detox, the analogy I use is our overflowing trash cans. Everybody knows what an overflowing trash can looks like, and you've seen it in a park, right? And when our trash cans are overflowing, that is that inflamed state. We need to not just wipe off the surface and leave them full. We need to pick them up and empty them. And the functional medicine detox is doing exactly that. It is picking them up and emptying them versus a store-bought detox, which might just be wiping away the top overflowing section, but still leaving it full. So the next stuff that goes in keeps it overflowing and you don't get out of that overflowing state.
That makes sense. I just put the link to your Discover Your Toxic Load quiz in the comments under this.
Yes, thank you for doing that. I love having people do that quiz. It's really an eye-opener for people, because the other thing that happens in life is that we may have symptoms. Our body is talking to us. It could be you just always have a runny nose. It could be swollen joints. It could be feeling puffy. There's so many different things. And people will very often write them off as aging or seasonal allergies or genetics and keep going, thinking it's totally normal because they look around and everybody else is doing the same thing. But the reality is when we have the awareness to go, oh, this isn't normal. This is my body talking to me. What is going on? And so when people do that quiz, it probably takes about 10 minutes to do it. You just go through a whole bunch of different ways that the body talks to you. And it's very quick to answer because the answers for almost all the questions are the same. So you get the hang of it very quickly. Saying whether you never have the symptom, you have the symptom daily, you have it weekly, you have it once or twice a month. And then after doing all of that, it gives you your score range as to whether your toxicity level is mild, moderate, severe, or extreme. Unfortunately, I see most people are in that severe and extreme level. But the good news is they've figured it out now, and then they can choose to do something about it. And when they run the quiz again after doing the 3-week detox, they see how many of those symptoms, they already feel them. They know they've gone away, but they see the score go down when they run the quiz again, right? But the first time I did it, because I was already in health and wellness and really conscious of all of this, my score was mild. But I still did the 3-week detox, and I still brought my score down further and got rid of those last few, symptoms that were just there. They weren't really bothering me, but they were still my body talking to me. And so it's quite the aha for people to realize, oh, I can do something about this. I don't have to have, daily fatigue in the afternoon or, wake up tired, or there's so many different things on the chart. And, people that are struggling with bloating and constipation or diarrhea or mood swings or acne or, dark circles under the eyes or headaches and migraines like I was, all of those can be triggered by toxins, or at least worsened by toxins, right? And when we lower that toxic load, we can alleviate so many of the symptoms or lessen them significantly so that you don't have to put up with them anymore. And certainly don't have to accept them as normal. Because in doing all of that, we lower the inflammation on the body, we're clearing the pathways, and we are therefore creating a body that is inhospitable to disease. And that's what we want.
That is definitely what we want. We love that. Good morning, everyone that's watching. We've got Shannon and Brenda and other ones that I can't see in my chat at the moment. But Shannon is asking, how does GNM view toxins and detoxing? And GNM referring to German New Medicine, the 5 biological laws, and how every symptom in the body is being generated by a conflict shock. Something starts that dis-ease process in our bodies. And, everything is a toxin. So Shannon, those shocks that we get, if we kind of step it back a little bit, everything is energy. And all of our atoms in our bodies have positive and negative charges. So that's energy. And if we have those negative charged emotions, they send shock waves through our bodies when something happens, and it's like, hey, you're fired from work, or hey, I'm leaving you now after 20 years. Like, poof, we get these shocks. They can be either big ones like that or just like little ones. Like, what did you just say? Like, but every one of those shocks is like a little electrical shock that runs through our bodies, and that starts the dis-ease process. Because when you put your finger in a light socket, it hurts, right? So exactly. If we aren't able to take our finger out of that socket, then the dis-ease amplifies. That current amps up. So every time, because everything is energy and everything is that frequency, the density, the heavy, dark things, the chemical toxins, the belief toxins, the I'm not okay belief systems, the heavier the things are, the more our systems get bogged down. So whether it's being bogged down emotionally from, things happening in our lives that we just don't like. I can't stand going to this job anymore. Whether it's ideas that we have that are disempowering, whether it is the toxins in our foods, anything that we put into our system, body, mind, and soul, that is an anchor. Anything that bogs us down is going to diminish our life force energy and our vitality and our quality of living. So anything that we can do to clear out the toxins is going to raise our vibration and bring in more life force energy. Because as long as those heavy, dense frequencies are in our bodies or in our energy fields, they're taking up valuable real estate.
Exactly.
So until you get rid of those, as soon as you clear out those heavy anchors, it's just like a hot air balloon. We start raising our vibration. And as we raise our vibration, it's just like going up in that hot air balloon. Instead of being like down on the ground where we're looking at all the stuff, it's like we start raising up and we start to go, oh, wow. Like there's a whole lot more that I can see from here. And it opens up our consciousness. It opens up new possibilities that come in. It opens up space for new life affirming energies to come in. So this is why we're talking about multidimensional detoxing today, because there's so many dimensions to us.
Exactly. And it's interesting because you're talking about emotions and that the atoms and that electric charge, that our emotions actually only last 90 seconds. That chemical reaction that happens in the body that we know as a emotion, whether it's, anger or fear or even happiness and joy, it is a chemical reaction and it lasts 90 seconds. But it's how we process it or don't process it that has it feel like it's lasting a lot longer. And very often as children, we're taught to repress our emotions, particularly the so-called bad ones, but none of them are bad because again, they are signals in the body. We need that fear because it's that warning sign not to step in front of a bus, right? But when we start to repress some of these emotions that we learn are bad and that we shouldn't feel or shouldn't express, that creates another level of toxicity, as you're talking about, versus when we learn to breathe through them, allow that 90-second chemical reaction to happen and come out the other side. And then, you can, isn't that interesting? Why did I just feel that emotion? What is going on? Getting curious about it. And then, of course, when you're in that higher level energy of, happiness and joy, etc., when you're living there, then you're constantly feeling that. And so it's such a wonderful place to be. And people aren't repressing those emotions, but they're very often repressing those lower energy, emotions that have been labeled bad. And so we need to, rethink what we think about those emotions and take away some of these labels and consider them signals. Consider them, again, our body talking to us, and it's okay to feel them. It's okay to experience this and to then, as I said, get curious to learn from it.
Exactly. We're never taught about how the energy actually works with those things. When that electrical charge goes through, all of a sudden, like we feel the fear or we feel the shame or we feel the guilt or we feel the doubt, that that's an energy that we're feeling in our cells. That chemical reaction is what we feel in our cells. But that's the electricity that's running through.
Exactly.
The thoughts are electrical, but the emotion, how we feel about the thought, is magnetic. So when we take the thought plus the emotion and it's really charged and heavy, they stay together, they lock together in a pattern. And if that pattern isn't neutralized, oh wow, I wonder why I thought that. Let me feel this, let me look at this so I can release it. If we don't have the tools to release it, somebody says, Melissa, why were you so stupid? And you go, oh my gosh, I don't know what happened to me. Then we don't have that. And we go, wow, the teacher said I was stupid. How do I don't, and then all the kids laughed at me, and then the next time we go to raise we're like, oh, we don't want to raise our hand because we don't want anybody to laugh at us. And we end up carrying that pattern that's electromagnetically locked into our system for years and years and years. And that pattern just simply builds up and builds up and builds up because law of attraction, we're attracting more and more things to give us the opportunity to look at that pattern again and go, hey, Lisa, do you still want to carry that thing that you were carrying around since third grade? But we've never been taught how to deal with these energies and these emotions and to be able to neutralize these patterns so we can get them out of our systems. We can detox our systems from these negative thought patterns because they take up that valuable real estate in our thought space. We don't really think about our thought space as a space that we live in. But if our thought space is just cluttered with all kinds of toxic thoughts, garbage thoughts, you're not okay, I don't fit in, I'm not okay, I'm gonna die, I'm getting old, this sucks. But all of these are really garbage thoughts. And we have to detox those because they really don't belong to us. We're the soul, the infinite being in the body. As the infinite being, there's nothing wrong with us ever. We are perfect and divine, and nobody is judging us other than ourselves. So
exactly.
To get rid of all of those things is a huge part of the detox process.
It is. And I just want to talk about there what you were saying, because my mind was going to the same place when you're talking about the thoughts, and the memory of that emotion is what's holding us stuck and keeping us repressing the unwanted emotion, the emotion we don't want to feel. But in our minds, we have our subconscious as our filing cabinet that is filing every single experience. And if we were that third grader that got called stupid and everybody laughed, that, creates that fear, which is triggering the body to go into fight or flight. And it's a safety thing. And so the subconscious is filing that. And it felt unsafe. So it doesn't want you to feel that again because it's always trying to keep you safe, right? Which is why the next time you go to raise your hand, you're not going to raise your hand because that memory is going to come back and go, nope, don't raise your hand because we're going to feel unsafe. We don't want you to feel unsafe. And so we can, reprogram our subconscious mind. And so often we are not even familiar with all that it's filed through all of the history of our life and even previous lives that's brought into this life. And so it sounds very complicated, but at the same time, again, the body always knows what to do. We just have to create the environment for it to be able to do so. And so when we create the environment for it to be able to detox, guess what? It can detox. And, my functional medicine detox is largely focusing on getting all of those chemical toxins and man-made toxins out because it's so critical that we do so. But I do have clients that experience that emotional detox in the process of this as well. And so it is very powerful when we start the body detoxing. It's like, yes, yay, finally. And it starts to let go.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly healing emotionally and physically for people as a result.
Yes. And that goes back to that whole multidimensional thing, because
exactly.
When we clear the body from the physical toxins, those emotions can be released at the same time. I remember doing a Pilates class once, and I was like really stretching it out and doing something. And all of a sudden, I just burst into tears for absolutely like no emotional reason. It was just like it reached deep in my body where those emotions had been stored. And suddenly it unlocked those emotions. And it was just like, oh my gosh, it was a little embarrassing at the moment. It was like, full on, like huge, big tears, the full on cry. And I was like, to my instructors, like, it's not you. You didn't do anything wrong. It's just like, I have just released some stuff. Just let me cry it out. It's all good. But, when all of those things that have been stored that we don't know of, they're stored electromagnetically. And if we can look at the energy, we can actually unlock the energy. We can take those thoughts and emotions that are locked together. And if we neutralize that energy, we don't have to look at those, in third grade, I was shamed in front of the classroom. Like, we don't have to go relive those things. We can, because they're stored in the file cabinet, they're stored in that, like the electromagnetic file cabinet in our DNA. If we pull out that energy, then all of the files in that file of, shame, whatever it was, if we take out that file, all of those energies leave, like the charged part of those memories. We can retain the memory of, oh, this happened, but it's like, we don't have to protect ourselves from that memory anymore. We can literally just clear out those electromagnetics and just release all of those charges at once. And it's like the sort of like the shortcut of, it's not bypassing or anything, but it's because we're multidimensional. It's easier to release the energy than it is to try to release the thought pattern or the emotion.
Right.
So all of these parts work together, clearing out the body, clearing out the mind, clearing out the emotions, clearing out the energies, neutralizing all of that. It's amazing how all of these parts and pieces work together.
And as we've said, it doesn't take long, 3 weeks, and it's really easy to do. I try to make it really easy for people as well. As you said, providing recipes and meal plans, etc., and guidance all along the way, because I do understand how the brain works. And very often when people start to do a program on their own, the brain will notice they're doing things differently and start chirping at them, going, this is hard. It's taking longer to make these meals. You don't even know what you're doing. You don't even know if you're doing it right. And our brain can be our best friend and our worst enemy at the same time. So it's our best friend when it is stopping us from stepping in front of a bus, but it's our worst enemy when we are trying to grow and get outside our comfort zone, and it's pulling us back. And it's pulling us back simply because it's doing its job, and its job is to keep us safe, and it knows it can keep us safe in this comfort zone because you're here and you're alive. And it doesn't know where you're going when you start doing things differently. And so it starts talking to you to bring you back. And so in offering support, I'm teaching people that they get to be in control of their brain instead of the other way around. And that it's okay to talk back to your brain and say, hey, no, I've got this. I know what I'm doing. And if I have questions, I can get them answered. right? Because you'll remember I put people on an app so they can connect with me. They can track how they're doing throughout the program. Are they hydrating enough? Is there movement? And how are they feeling? And is there some self-care happening? And all of these things, because we're looking at the whole body. And I see how they're doing, and I can cheer them on when they're doing well, and I can cheer them up if they're struggling. But in doing so, they can talk back to their brain because they know they're supported, and they can say, no, I've got this. I can get my questions answered. I do know what I'm doing. And just bear with me while I bring us to a new comfort zone over here with new health. And so as a result of that, I have 100% success rate in guiding people through. Nobody's fallen off. But I have had people on day one messaging me going, oh my God, this is so hard. I can't do this. I need to quit. And I had a lady say that recently. And I was like, well, what's going on? Let's chat about this. And she didn't quit. She completed the whole 21 days. She just needed a little bit of help of talking back to her brain and knowing that she could do it. And I haven't had many people try to quit on day 1 or 2, but I have had some. And I love it when they don't, because that's the whole reason that I offer the guided program. Because we know when we try to do it on our own, we do often quit because we're willing to let ourselves down, but we don't let someone else down.
Yeah. And we do, we quit when we feel like we don't have enough information, or we don't have the intestinal fortitude to make it through. And it's so helpful to have somebody there to walk us through that. Suffering is optional in this lifetime. We don't need to suffer. And to have somebody there to hold our hand and go, oh, here, step over here so you don't suffer anymore. That was exactly what she was like, oh my gosh, I'm suffering, I can't do this. And you're like, oh, here, just come over here a little bit and you won't have to suffer through it, and you can make it through. And look at how she did those 21 days. And
exactly.
She didn't have to suffer through it, and she didn't have to quit.
And yeah, now she's ecstatic because she came to it saying that she didn't have enough energy to get through her workday. She's an entrepreneur, so she needs to have enough energy to get through her day. And she wasn't sleeping well at night, and she just felt blah, right? And she couldn't believe that inside, I think 10 days, she's like, I've started sleeping better and I now have energy to get through my day. And she didn't know how much those toxins were bogging down her system. And that, having all that energy, all that toxic load inside you is stealing energy from you being able to do whatever it is you're meant to do, that you've been put on this planet to do.
Exactly. We each came here with our own unique purpose in life. We came here, we have our unique purpose for being here. We chose to be here for some reason. And it's up to us to discover what that reason is, because we fall into the amnesia of that third dimension and we forget who we are. We forget why we're here. And we just feel like we're the victim of this crazy, chaotic, mixed up world. And it disempowers us. So here we are back on this ascension path where we are starting to remember, like, wait a minute, I'm the soul. I am far more than I thought I was. And I have far more control over my life than I thought I did. Mm-hmm. The external world tells me that I'm a victim, that I have to listen to everybody else. But you know what? When I start listening to me, I start feeling better. I start feeling more empowered. When I start listening to my own inner guidance, it's like, oh, I listen to my inner guidance through my body. Oh, my body's talking to me. Oh, hey, let me learn the language and let me start working with my body. So my body and I are a team. And then let's get body, mind, and soul together as one instead of 3 parts of one. And let's remember that we're the soul and that we are fully connected to source energy 24/7. And we can allow all of that life force energy to flow to us and through us. And we can use that energy to fill our bodies, to fill our thought space, to fill our energy field. And when we start operating from that, then that life force energy is what keeps us going for as long as we want to go, because these bodies are constantly rejuvenating themselves and regenerating themselves, but they can only do it to the level of our consciousness. If we believe that we're going to die by the time we're 80 and that we're going to be old and stuck, then that is a guarantee that that's what's going to happen.
Yep.
There is no other way out of that thought process. So when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. So when we change the way we look at ourselves and ourselves change.
Very, very true. Well said.
So Melissa, this has been a fascinating conversation. I've really enjoyed it. And I hope, are you going to be doing another functional medicine detox coming up at the beginning of the year?
I am doing one in January. I think it's the first Tuesday in January, I think. Let me just check my calendar. Let me have a quick look here. I think it's January the 5th, January 4th it starts.
Great. I'm going to start gearing myself up for it now so that I'm fully mentally like really into it, because then it makes it so much easier to do it. You're not struggling through those first days going, oh my God, I'm not eating anything else. It's like, oh, this is great. And then how many of you listening are ready to do a functional medicine detox with me and Melissa? Like, I'm doing it. Why don't y'all join me? And we're going to have Melissa guide us through a beautiful functional medicine detox. We can do it as a nice family here together and get 2022 started on a really great footing and empty out those trash cans.
Exactly. And so I invite people to start by doing that toxic load quiz and understanding where you're at today and having that little bit of aha that you can actually do something about this. And when you do the quiz, I will follow up and let you know that I have your results and offer you a complimentary 30-minute session just so we can discuss them. And the other thing too that I just want to say is that with this detox is it is designed to be done in your everyday life. And the body is nourished while detoxing. So, if somebody's doing a water fast, for instance, by the end of day 2, you're really not functioning and probably can't work, and you need to take vacation to do a full-on water detox. But in this detox, it is designed to allow you to keep going about your daily life, and you will still be able to function optimally. We do talk about start dates just to make sure that works for you. So everybody's start date is different. The program starts January 4th, but you don't have to start detoxing January 4th. You're going to come that day and learn all about it and then figure out the best start date for you.
Beautiful. I am like ready, willing, and able here. 2022 is really my year of really detoxing. I did a great job last year, and then I got a little bit lazier as the year went on, and, not to beat myself up over it, but, it's just, I wasn't as careful about looking at the things I was putting in my body and not exercising as much, and cutting down on my water intake. I've never been a good water drinker, and I got it up really well during the detox, but then I just kind of fell off that water wagon a little bit. So this year, I'm really going to be looking at multidimensional detox. I was focused a lot on my body last year. This year, I'm really going to focus on all the different layers. How can I up my game and fine tune my game? So I'm really detoxing my thought space, my energy space, my physical body space. And, how can I become the best, clearest channel of myself as I can for 2022? I'm starting now, but 2022
I love that.
Is full on focus.
I love that. Nothing like being prepared. So I hope people do join us in the group. I'm excited to run it again. And, for me, I really, truly believe that detoxing is that starting point to regaining your health. And unfortunately, it's not talked about in the Western world very often. And yet in Ayurvedic medicine, Latin American cultures, Asian cultures, they still detox to this day. We think that having a shower and washing our outer body is enough for good health and good hygiene, but it really isn't. And if everybody just stepped into a practice of detoxing, it would change health outcomes, but not only that, change life outcomes for people, because it is more than just the chemical detox that's impacting health. It is that emotional, it is that mental detox, etc. And it's so powerfully, cleansing, really clearing. And again, we can then create that body that is inhospitable to disease.
Exactly. I love that. That's beautiful. So I hope everybody will take advantage of the Discover Your Toxic Load quiz, and take advantage of Melissa's amazing offer of talking to you for half an hour about it, because you'll get to know Melissa a little bit better. You'll get to know yourselves a little bit better and yourself a little bit better. So please take advantage of that. And Melissa, again, congratulations on winning the award the other night for
Thank you.
Quality Care Award, because she truly does give phenomenal quality care to all of her clients. I can vouch for this as one who has gone through her functional medicine detox. It was incredibly helpful. She was there every step of the way. So for each and every one of us that did it. So it was really amazing. So I hope you guys will all consider doing her functional medicine detox starting in January of 2022. And if you're listening to this at some point later down the road, look on her website. We'll put her website in the show notes so that you can go and check it out and see when she's doing another one. She offers all kinds of, she has a hormone rebalancing program as well. So she does all kinds of different things that are really, really helpful to everyone. So Melissa, thank you so much for being our guest today on this show. It was really fun having you. I love this discussion.
It's my pleasure. And I've thoroughly enjoyed my time here as well. And thank you for having me.
You are welcome. We'll have to do a part 2 at some point, because there's so much we can talk about with this. This is a multi-dimensional conversation that can happen
absolutely
times.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Oh, Kathy, good morning. So everyone, Michelle and Lisa and Brenda and Kathy and everybody who has been joining us this morning, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Every Sunday in our soul sourced healing Facebook group, we have Solution Sunday, because the soul is the solution. And we are here to raise our vibration, to remember ourselves as the souled beings that we are. So in being the souls that we are, we can create heaven on earth. We simply have to focus. So thank you all for joining me. I'm Lisa Warner. I'm the author of The Simplicity of Self-Healing. Melissa, where can they find you on your website? Share your information so anybody listening can contact you.
So my website is actually, it's right behind me, so people can probably read it, but yourguidedhealthjourney.com.
Beautiful. We'll have this on just on audio on our podcast as well. So if you're listening on the podcast, it's okay if you couldn't see, but yourguidedhealthjourney.com. Please reach out to Melissa. And my website is connectingyoutoyou.com, spelled out in full. So both of us, we would love to see you. Please stop by and contact us if there's any way we can help you. So thank you all so much for joining us for this episode of Solution Sunday. Until next week, create for yourselves a great week and detox as much as you can. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.